Hello, and welcome to EduCurious, where we highlight exceptional educators and dive deep into complex issues. Today's guest is Dr. Lynn Johnson, an educator and entrepreneur. Tell me about what you are currently doing right now at this point in your life.
At this point in my life, I'm very busy. I would say I'm busy because I do wear several hats in my life. What I'm doing right now, if you're talking about professionally, I am running my own consulting firm, working with a few clients. I'm also the president of one of the largest Society of Human Resource Management chapters in Florida, which is the SHRM Greater Orlando chapter. And I've also gone back into the classroom teaching part time down at Warner University. And personally, I'm just having a ball with my grandkids.
What did you aspire to be when you were, say, like 10 years old? What were your dreams and aspirations?
I have a cousin who currently works at the city of Lake Wales. She's actually worked for the city of Lake Wales for as long as I can remember. And growing up, I always looked up to her and I said, I want to be just like Sandra. And I wanted to be like Sandra because I love the way that she went to work. But at 10, 12 years old, I loved the way that she would dress and put on her heels and go to work and do all of those things. I just aspired to be like her because I just thought she looked great going to work. And I said, whatever she's doing, that's what I want to do. Around about that time, I wanted to go somewhere and look like I made a difference because to me, she looked like she made a difference where she was going every day. So that's what I wanted to do when I was about 10.
So, how important is it, in your opinion, to have role models, like women leadership role models for our young girls in society?
It's very important to me. Growing up and even throughout my career, not only have I had role models, I had a lot of mentors throughout my career. Every phase of my career brought me someone new, someone different, a woman who was well educated. She knew what she wanted. She made a difference when she stepped in, when she walked into the room. She had this presence about her, and I've always been able to select those women who I wanted to mentor me, but also who I could look at their life, their story, and say, I really want to be like that person. And I've had several mentors over the years. I always feel like you're never too old to have a mentor, and you're never too old to look up to people who are doing amazing jobs in your community, in your family, and definitely in your workplace as well.
What are some areas that you're able to give back and help the younger generation as they look up to you?
I've had the opportunity to speak at different schools, and I use my story of being a person who grew up in Lake Wales, didn't come from much, actually lived in the projects, and I was raised by my grandmother. My parents, unfortunately, were addicted to drugs. I came from a background where one would think that a person from that type of background and those type of struggles would not be able to really do much in life. And I feel like I'm a product of a person who kind of perseveres through life no matter what your struggles are. I use my story with young girls, young women, but also even in my professional career. I highlight my story a lot because I think that it helps people to see that you don't have to be especially women. You don't have to be perfect. We all have a story, and it's what you make of your story, and it's how your story helps others. Went to Polk Avenue. I went to McLaughlin Middle School. Then I went to Lake Wells High School. My upbringing was a little rocky. Growing up, I really felt like even though my grandmother was amazing and thank God for her, but my life had some struggles. My mom had 5 children and we were separated when the today we call it children and families. Back then we called it, HRS, but they came and they took us from my mom and they put us in foster home and we were split. I ended up being raised only with my two older siblings, and my two younger siblings were not raised with us. You could probably understand that that puts a lot of void in your life, not really being able to grow up with your siblings, and then just a hard life in general, just thinking about, why do other people have parents? Why can some girls, wear this or wear that? Because I struggled with that too, not having, much growing up, and the role that that played on me. But I learned early on that it's really not about what you go through, right? It's really how you handle some of the things that you go through in life. And I was blessed to meet my husband when I was a senior in high school, and he came from a really good family, and they took me in and they made me a part of them. And I am so blessed because of that. Even through that, it was, still rocky because of some of the things that I had gone through as a child that I was still struggling with. And part of that was my siblings, but the Lord blessed me to be able to really reconnect with my younger siblings. We have an amazing, relationship today. That's a part of my life that at one point I would never speak about. It would never talk about anything that I, went through personally. But one thing that I have learned is that your story is a testimony for someone else. I'm able now to really use that story to help uplift others. My roots are here in Lake Wales, and I've never wanted to leave. I've always wanted to be here. I've always wanted to raise my children here. All of my kids went through the charter school system. I'm tied to this town, even though some people see me still and they're like, "Where are you from?" And people still ask, "Are you from Lake Wales?" And I'm like, "Yeah, and I've been here all my life." It's still funny that people say that. I kind of keep to myself, right? And I take care of my family, and I do what I can do to help where I can.
Talk a little bit about your schooling, your education, and how that opened doors into your career paths.
As you can imagine, coming out of high school, I met my husband while I was a senior in high school. I ended up going to college, but I was not one of those traditional college students. I got with my husband early. I actually had my daughter very early. I was 20 years old when I had my first daughter. I didn't get to go and live off on college. Well, for one, I didn't know how I was going to be able to afford it. But I didn't let that stop me. I signed up for school, and it's so funny that the school that I signed up for was Bethune-Cookman, and Bethune-Cookman was actually hosting classes at the Lake Wells High School back in that time. It was a long time ago. And they were hosting college classes. And I took a few college classes at for Bethune-Cookman right at Lake Wells High School. That kind of started my education journey. And from there, I went on to Warner University. It took some time. By the time I got there, I was an adult student and I enrolled in the organization and management program. It was a face to face program, so none of that online stuff. So I went to school. I had a full time job. I was a mother. I was a wife. I did all of those things with the help of my husband. Thank God for me to be able to do those things. And I graduated from Warner with my undergraduate degree. And this time I was still working in the corporate arena. So I actually started at State Farm Insurance Company. That was my first real job when I started working at State Farm in 1995. They were amazing to me, and I was able to go to school. I was also able to then go from getting my bachelor's degree to finding out that, you know what, I really like people. I really wanted to be a leader, but I really didn't know what I wanted to study. I had a mentor at the time and we would talk, and I ended up choosing human resource management. I went to school for my master's degree at Webster University. Again, it was not an online school, it was face to face. So I went and I got my master's in human resource management. And after getting that degree, things started changing for me quite a bit. And the things that started changing was my outlook on life started changing. I was older, my kids were getting a little bit older, and I believe that God turned my entire he didn't turn my life upside down, but he kind of moved me in a different direction. While I was at State Farm, I used to train all of the new employees that came into my department. That's when I fell in love with training. And from that point on, education became a passion to me. And then I said, you know what? I think I want to go into higher education. People looked at me like I was crazy. I had been at State Farm for 15 years. And they were like, leave a company that you've been with for 15 years, Lynn, you're vested, you're on the ladder to move up. I had started a supervisor position, but it just didn't feel right anymore. It just didn't feel like that was something I wanted to do. So I had the courage. It took a lot, but I had the courage to change careers. But I needed a mentor to do that. And that's why having a mentor is so important to you before. So I was able to have a mentor who was actually in higher education, who mentored me throughout my whole thought process of transitioning, and she gave me my first job at Warren University as an instructor, and I am so thankful for her today. She is one of my biggest cheerleaders. She's a really good friend. Her name is Dr. Bram, and she gave me my first shot, and that was almost 14 years ago, and I have been educating ever since. But then I said, okay, what do I want to do education wise? Dr. Brim, my mentor, said, hey, if you're going to be in this thing for the long haul, you're going to have to go and get your doctorate degree, because masters are going to be just everybody has one. It's going to come that point. And we had a conversation. I had a conversation with my husband, and I went back to get my PhD. And getting that was a test in of itself, to be able to achieve a defeat like that, and coming from where I come from, right? I don't like to talk about it a whole lot because I don't want anybody to think that because I've earned a PhD that I'm just this high and mighty person, right? I did it for my career. I didn't do it to make people change the way they see me. I talk about it, but I only talk about it in the sense of how it has helped me in my education and in my career. And it has definitely helped 100%. And it is something that I'm proud of. But I always tell people, if I had to do it all over again, I probably wouldn't do it, because it was a lot of it was a lot of hard work, but it was definitely worth it. And then that led me into being an entrepreneur.
So, with your PhD, where did you get it? What institution? And then what was your dissertation around?
I got my PhD from Capella University. The first online course I ever took was in my PhD program. And luckily, we had residences. So I was able to take partial online, but then go and travel and come together and meet people during that entire process. So that was a help, because I really wasn't an online person. My PhD is in organization and management. And my dissertation topic, because I am a people person and I always wondered why people leave organizations. That's always been one of my themes of getting people to stay. And part of it was really because when I left State Farm, I left because, yes, my life was changing at the time, but it was also because I didn't feel like I was valued for the work that I was bringing to the organization. My dissertation focused on the employee working in a claims environment, their intent to leave an organization. What was the leader's role in an employee's intent to leave the organization? That's before they leave. It's what type of leadership influence makes that happen. That topic really just deepened my love for people in the organization, and my goal in everything that I do, from whether I am doing training, whether I'm consulting, whether I'm in the classroom teaching students. It's all about, how do you get people to stay, right? What does it take to get people to stay in an organization? And through my research, I found out it's very simple. You just got to care about people. If people know that you care about them and you show it in your actions within the organization, people will stay. But a leader definitely influences a person's intent to leave an organization. It was proven.
Does that have a tie in to your current SHRM involvement? Because to me, that is like the marriage of two perfect things, the research and the actual output. So tell me a little bit about that, how that comes into play.
When I found my SHRM family, I call my SHRM family. I give them that name because when I decided to go into business for myself full time, the focus of my business was going to be, of course, human resource management, being able to help small businesses who cannot afford a person to work in their business to help them take care of their people. That was my whole goal of starting my own business. Because I had been out of the corporate world for so long, it meant that I needed to really connect myself back to the corporate world. I ended up joining the Orlando Society of Human Resource Management. And when I joined them, first as a member only, but then I really got to know them. And I also joined them because I knew that the people that I wanted to hire me would be the people that was a part of that organization, because they're the ones that make the decision that help leaders learn, right? How to really truly engage and take care of their people. That was my reason for joining, so that I can get connected, right, to the right people. Absolutely fell in love with my chapter. And I've been with them for about 4 years, and now I'm president. We're the largest chapter in Florida. We have over 700 plus members, and we are always busy. And I absolutely love it because I lead a board of about 15 individuals who love people just like I do. Our goal is to spread the education, train leaders, HR professionals to take care of their people, and we show them how to do that. That's how that marriage came together, and it's a really really good marriage.
Would you advise educators in leadership to explore being a part of SHRM too? I know it's different, and if you're not from the business world, you might not have ever heard of it. But do you feel like that is also beneficial for a principal or an assistant principal to be involved in?
The training that we provide helps people lead better. And it doesn't really matter the industry that you're from, right? It doesn't matter if you're actually in an HR role or not. The information that we provide to our members is information that that become better leaders, that help them help people lead better, right? So can some of the things that we train and do help principals and assistant principals? Of course, of course. And for me, it has helped me in my career. Connecting yourself with people, like-minded people, help you grow. It helps you become a better person. It helps you become a better leader.
Talk about your journey into getting into the classroom and teaching the higher education courses at Warner University.
At Warner, I'm a professor of business. So that means that the students that I teach are students that are interested in business. They come to college already interested in business. When I get them, I typically get them when they're freshmen. I teach a class called Introduction to Business. And when I was chair at the university, I would always teach that class, no matter how many sessions we offered, I would teach it because I felt like that course set the stage for all of their business courses, right? Connecting with those, and these are students right out of high school typically. It's either their first or second semester in college, and I get to see them, I get to learn about them, but I also get to mold them into better people. But some students come to college and they're really not ready for college. And I pride myself in showing the student who they can become. Because I know that if they're interested in business, they're wanting to go out in the real world and make a difference in some form or fashion. I pride myself in being a hard professor. I'm known as that one professor who is going to hold you accountable, who is going to make you study, who's going to not give you a pass on anything. Because I believe that I'm not just teaching you what business is all about, I'm teaching you what life is all about. And I have a lot of experience. I teach an array of classes. I've been blessed to have so many experiences in my classroom. Students get real world examples. When we talk about things that I've experienced, that I'm able to say, hey, this is what really happens, out there. So I'm able to blend theory with practical experience. And that helps because students want to know something real, something, that's not just in a textbook. That's a big piece of what I do that helps students go out and become great people. That with also don't come late to my class, and and I don't accept late homework. And I'm known to lock the door if too many students start coming late too often, because I tell them this: how many times will you be able to be late for your job? And they look at me and they're like, I say, okay. But I expect the same things, but I'm preparing them for life, right? I'm preparing them to be better people, better upstanding people. So I'm not just teaching business, I'm teaching life. And I think that's what a lot of educators need to do. It's not always about the science, the math, the geography, or whatever it is. It's really about connecting with people. It's about the relationship. And even though I'm not easy for my students, at the end of the semester, anybody will tell you, they'll come to me and they'll say, Dr. Johnson, I loved your class. I learned so much. But you weren't easy, but they're okay that I wasn't easy, because life is not easy. If you feel that life is going to be easy and this class is going to be easy, you're in the wrong class. The relationship, I think, helps with that, though, because I couldn't be just a mean old professor, right? No, Warner would have not have kept me for as long as I've been there, and I wouldn't have been professor of the year before at Warner if I was that awful. No, it's because I give more to the student. I want to know who they are. So whether it's in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, on the job, it doesn't matter. People are still people, and you still have to connect with them, and you still have to have relationships with them. And that's the only thing that make other people better.
You mentioned Professor of the Year. What are some other accomplishments that you're really proud of in your career?
Gosh, well, I wrote a book finally. One of the things that I have always wanted to do for years was to write a book, but working full time and family and all of those things, it just never really happened. But when I decided to leave teaching full time, I still teach part time, but when I decided to leave it full time, that took a lot of courage, because I am one for stability, and being an entrepreneur is not always easy. It's really a hustle that I tell people all the time that you have to keep doing. During that time, I said, you know what? I'm going to write this book. And I wrote a book, and the book is titled Who Cares? A Leader's Guide to Enhancing Employee Engagement. So, what I did is I developed a framework of how to train leaders how to care about people through connection, acknowledgement, respect, empowerment, and support. I'll put it like this: if you really genuinely connect with your people, if you acknowledge them for being who they are, not the employee, but seeing them beyond the job, if you respect them enough to not only treat them with respect, but respect them enough to even help them when they're dealing with issues, even when they're not doing well, giving them that amount of respect to empower them to be the best person that they can be, and then supporting them with who they want to become. Because it may not be sitting in your seat under your leadership forever, right? It's supporting them to be who they want to be, because if you do that to them, then they'll do that to someone else. So it's a cycle, it starts all over again. So I am super proud of accomplishing that. It was released last June, my birthday. That's one of my biggest career accomplishments.
What are some things from your book and from your research that you encourage educators within our system, whether it be the charter system or the Polk County School Board system, to use in their classroom? I heard a lot of keywords that really make a difference with connections between teachers and students, too.
Yeah, yeah. My book is it's definitely, you can definitely relate it to anywhere. You can replace employees with students, right? The thing that, and all of them matter to me. But the thing that I believe, the acronym or the letter that is most important to me is the C, the connection, because that's where it begins. So whether you're in your classroom, no matter your student, if you are able to genuinely connect with the student, don't just connect with the students that are good. You know, the students that are doing what you want, who turn their homework in on time. Yes, connect with those people. Yes, connect with those students. I'm not telling you not to connect with those students, but I want to tell educators to be intentional to connect with the students that don't. right? The ones that we want to write off as not paying attention, the ones that we want to write off as they're just not going to get it, so I'm not even going to try. Do your best to be intentional about connecting with them, because that connection, while all connections matter, that one matters the most because you could change a person's life. It happened with me through the mentors that I've had. Someone taking the time to get to know me, Lynn, you look at me today, if I didn't tell you my story, you wouldn't even know it. My book tells stories of different leaders that have impacted me throughout my career. People that just took the time to just, if they ask me, Lynn, how are you doing? And this could be an educator asking a student, hey, how are you doing? And that student says, I'm fine, but they're not fine. Some educators may take I'm fine and be okay with it and just say, oh, well, I asked them. They didn't say anything. But it might be that time that you ask them for a second time that they may share what could really be going on with them. That could be the reason why they're struggling in your class. So connection is super, super, super important. That's why it's the first one, because every relationship starts with genuine connection, whether you're in the classroom or whether you're in the workplace.
What are some resources that you're plugged into or that have influenced your life? Favorite books or podcast or associations? What keeps you grounded and always learning? Because you've mentioned you're a lifelong learner, you are always becoming better.
My job is education, so we're always learning. We always have a book open. We're always reading something. But one of the things, and I do have a quote, I actually have it written down. It's a quote from Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last book. I love that book. I actually had my board for Society of Human Resource Management. I also bought them the book as well. But the quote says, leadership is not about being in charge. It is about taking care of those in your charge. It really resonates with me because it aligns with my philosophy of being people first.
Do you have any advice for young people or advice that you could go back and give your younger self about being focused or achieving your goals or something to that extent?
Don't be concerned about what other people think about you or what they may say about you. Don't let your beginnings right now be your story, because it won't be the end of your story. And if I don't tell my story, you wouldn't know the struggles that I've been through in life. So telling my stories let people know that they can persevere, that they can truly make it no matter what their backgrounds are, no matter where they come from. So I would tell my 10-year-old self, my 12-year-old self, or whatever, that hey, don't worry about them. You're going to be okay. Just keep going, keep pushing, because there was times that I didn't want to, but luckily I had people in my corner to help me. And it's not always going to be your family. And that's okay too. But find someone who's going to be in your corner that's going to push you to become a better you. So that's the advice that I would leave with a younger person or even for myself.
What are other areas that you're able to give back and help encourage other people?
One of the areas is I do sit on the charter school board. That's one of the areas I give back to community. I'm involved in my community in other ways. I also help local businesses when they need help, whether it's with their business plan, whether that's starting a new business, whether that's just needing someone to help them with anything. I help people in the community. People know me for Lynn's the business person, right? Lynn's the person, she deals with employees, and I've helped people with resumes. I've helped people prepare for interviews. I give back in ways that a lot of people probably won't even think that I do. When people pick up the phone and they call and they ask me to do things, if it's going to help and benefit my community, I am there 100%. I've given free trainings. I've done quite a bit in the community. I love my community. That's why I've never left. And so my family is a part of this community. I just strive to keep pouring in as much as I can. As long as the Lord allows me and gives me strength to do so, that's what I continue to do. And I've gotten to the point in my career where I don't want to go any further than what I already am. I have a really good life. I have an amazing family. I love teaching and educating and still get an opportunity to do that. Running my business, although I'm not doing it to be rich or famous or anything, I'm doing it to be comfortable, right? To be able to do the things that I like to do and for it to give me the flexibility to spend time with my family, my grandkids, to go on trips, to give back to the community the way that I do. In my career, have I reached the pinnacle? I've done it. I don't feel like I want to go and be a Fortune 500 leader anywhere. No, I just want to help people. That's what I want to do. And whether that's me training, educating, which is the space that I love to be in, if I can continue doing that and still make a living, then I'm doing good because that's what I love to do.
Are there any things that we didn't cover or any things that you'd like to share to the education community, to the leaders, maybe to the students?
Believe in yourself in everything that you do. I first had to believe in me in order to be able to achieve the things that I've been able to achieve over my life. And it hasn't been me alone, it's been other people. So I've been blessed and humbled. People need to be humbled. Humbled that you have people in your corner, be thankful for it, but continue striving to go after your passion. The reason why I left education full time because I felt like there was more that I could be doing. There's more that I could do to help. And while yes, educating people is one of those things, I felt the need to go back into the corporate world where things are just not always great and help even in that space. Just keep believing in yourself and keep pushing.
I'm really honored that you were on the show. Appreciate your time. I think it's so important for people to see people in leadership that care about the community and education. I just think that is vital. Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or EduCurious, join the community as we explore various educational topics and learn from each other. We'll see you next time.